We got Baldur's Gate, Fall Guys Season 2, and Cyberpunk. Let's talk. What up, viewers? What up? What up? Today is Friday, October 9th, and that means it's time for a quick recap of the week in video game news. Like I said, we got Baldur's Gate, so let's start with that. So the Baldur's Gate 3, the latest video game coming from Larian Studios, has launched into early access as of the 6th this week. The game is planned on being in early access for over a year, or at least for about a year. The amount of content that's in the game is like the first of what is expected to be 3 acts, but they still think it's about 25 to 30 hours of gameplay. For a little bit on the background, we haven't seen a Baldur's Gate game since early 2000, which was made by Baldur's Gate 2 was made by BioWare, and then Interplay made the first one. So the Baldur's Gate series is quite a bit old, and now they're trying to, Larian Studios, recently known for the Divinity series, is taken on the IP, the long-awaited IP franchise, and has now brought it to modern gen, or at least brought it into the modern sphere. The game looks great. I've looked into some of the character creation, some of the stuff you can do in the game. They've been showing off a lot of the content, so I'm kind of really excited for it. I have yet to buy it yet. I don't have the time right now to dive into a hardcore CRPG. So really looking forward to playing it eventually. I've kind of convinced myself that I will buy it because one of the devs have said that they want you to play through it. That they're really using the content you have to test the first act to get player feedback and all that. So I'm looking to give them that feedback. I also want to play as an evil character, which is what they kind of said is like, hey, use this early access to kind of play a character you normally wouldn't. And I kind of want to take them up on that offer. So I'm looking forward to it. I've played 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. So I am excited to see how the rules are interpreted into a game, because there's always a difference between a tabletop role-playing game and a computer role-playing game. So I'm looking forward to that, but I've heard good things. This comes up with the whole debate around early access, and especially with people paying full price for early access. I'm of two minds about it. I'm paying someone to play their game, a lower quality version of their game. I fully accept everybody who says they're just going to wait for the full product. I completely accept that as an answer. I think that's a valid way to wait. I think the only thing that kind of convinced me is I would like to play just kind of this first act, get it under my feet, play it as an evil character, and then move on and wait from there till the full game comes out in a year, and then play it all through the way I would normally play. So I'm kind of using the early access as an excuse to play a way I normally wouldn't, which I thought was a cool idea back when the devs talked about it. So I'm looking forward to it. Let me know if you picked it up, what you thought, what your character is, and looking forward to hearing more about it. Ye Olde Fall Guys Season 2 launched this week. We've been looking forward to this for a couple weeks now. Fall Guys definitely needed a facelift, and so it's here. Season 2 is here. It's all medieval themed, which means it's right up my alley. I love all the knights and wizards and stuff and the dragons, so I was really excited. They've now added 2 game modes. There's just like the main show, which I believe can give you any game from the repertoire of games that they have, or you can play in, oh god, what's the name of the mode? A gauntlet mode, which is supposed to prioritize races, but I'm pretty sure I've played like team games and I played a non-race game, so I don't know if I just, day one got I just got RNG'd into a game that I wasn't normally supposed to, if they're still working on it. The new game modes are really exciting. There's really like they're really frantic. There's the hoop jumping game, but you're playing by yourself and not on a team, so it makes it for interesting. They have the whole mechanic of like pushing blocks around and trying to jump over walls, which I think is really good, but some of the mechanics, I think, some of like the grab mechanics, I think make it a little wonky sometimes. But overall, I think it's a good season, or it's a good start to the season. I don't know that there's enough for like Season 2 means a lot when you're comparing this to like Apex Legends or Fortnite and all that kind of stuff for this kind of battle royale genre. And I don't know if this lives up to the hype of like a season 2 in other of those games, but I've already played it. I think it's really fun. And looking forward to seeing other people's costumes. I really like the night costume that you can buy in the DLC store. It's official, Cyberpunk has gone gold. So, for those not in the know, going gold is when the data for a game or the entire game is now being printed on discs. And that used to be a benchmark of like the game is complete. And then that slowly game is complete idea has died with the fact that day one patches are going to happen. I expect that they're working on Cyberpunk, up until the minute that they launch it. They've even talked about there being a little bit of crunch, and they've gotten some backlash on social about it. That they just need to cram in and bug fix with a game this big. I can imagine that there's a whole team just trying to fix some any of the issues up until the day of launch. And I expect this, even though it's going to be a small file size, I expect this to have a huge day one patch, just because they are constantly fixing things all the way up to the minute it launches. So going gold doesn't mean as much as it did back in the day. But Cyberpunk has gone gold, which, for those who are still on the fence about whether or not it's going to come out, it's coming out on November 19th. So set it on your calendars. I don't know what you're going to do if you buy a next-gen console, because I don't think it's launching on those right when it launches. But they've already talked about paths to get it for the next generation. So looking forward to playing Cyberpunk. And I'm glad that it is finally officially, there's no more worry that the game is going to be delayed. Going gold pretty much cements the fact that it's launching on November 19th. So looking forward to that. Nintendo did a small direct focused on 2 games this week. They focused on the next game coming to the Pikmin saga. I forget what the name of the game is. But the main thing I wanted to talk about was all of the cool stuff that's being added to Age of Calamity. They really showed like 20 minutes of gameplay. They showed a bunch of different characters. They showed these kind of boss fights that looked really reminiscent of like Breath of the Wild. And I'm not as familiar with like the Hyrule Warriors or the other kind of Dynasty Warriors series, but I thought this looked very unique to Age of Calamity as opposed to those games. Someone in the comments will correct me if that kind of boss gameplay has been there the whole time. But I'm really looking forward to seeing more of Age of Calamity, and I'm looking forward to that coming out just a day after Cyberpunk. So that'll be interesting as well. But I'm excited for the new content and everything that's coming out for Age of Calamity. I think a Breath of the Wild prequel game is very much needed, especially with the whole setup of 100 years later here in Breath of the Wild. So looking forward to seeing more and more content, but I'm already all in on Age of Calamity. So looking forward to it. Sony has detailed the backwards compatibility between PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 this week. There's only about they said that 99% of the library is coming from PlayStation 4 is coming to PlayStation 5. You'll be able to plug the disc in if you have the disc, or download it directly from the PlayStation Store. There's only about a dozen or so titles, and I think the reason that those dozen or so titles is they didn't get the license for it or something. The ones that I saw were like Afro Ninja and Hitman Go, the definitive edition or whatever. So there was only like there was only a dozen or so titles that weren't going to be there, but this kind of rounds out that Sony is, people had a bunch of questions about what backwards compatibility was going to look like on the PlayStation 5. Everybody's going to have to buy the games over again or pay a $10 upcharge or something like that. Nope. It sounds like you'll just be able to take the disc off your wall and plug it into your disc drive, or you'll be able to download it from the Sony store. So if you're not getting if you have physical PlayStation 4 games that you still want to play, you're going to want to get the disc version of the PlayStation 5 so that you can play those games. This I saw, just as a side note, saw an article this week talking about how 72% of people are getting the disc version of the PlayStation 5. So it doesn't seem like the digital revolution is happening as quickly as possible, if that one figure that I saw is to be believed. So I'm also looking for a disc version of the PlayStation 5 as well. So Some people, maybe you're paying $100, like me, maybe you're paying $100 and you'll never use it. But I totally accept that, and I'm willing to spend that money just in case, rather than not have it and need it. So that's kind of my mindset behind my PlayStation 5 purchase. Moving right along, much like every other games as a service game, Marvel's Avengers is seeing big declines, but the nature of these declines has been talked about in the past week. The Marvel Avengers game, I saw an article talking about how the Steam player count is down less than 1,000 players, and I've just seen a bunch of player statistics showing that it's, in the past 3 weeks it's already down like 80% or so, which means that's a big decline. I mean, you typically see kind of 50% or so of the player base decays after the first couple weeks. So back down to 80% of the player count just kind of makes people nervous, and it might affect people getting into it. If there's not a big enough player base, people can't get into it later. And this kind of game, especially with depending on what the end game looks like, what I'm talking to all my friends about, what the end game looks like, as well as just the multiplayer, what does that look like? So it seems like people are treating Avengers more as a single player narrative game, and they play through that, and they're kind of just setting it down. So maybe people will come back. The devs have said that they're not nervous, that they think they'll be able to incentivize people to come back, but as of now they're definitely on the decline, so be sure to watch that. In a weird turn of events, Star Wars Squadrons, a week after launch, EA is already saying that there's no future content planned for Star Wars Squadrons, which is probably why they did the price thing that they did, with Star Wars Squadron only being $40 at launch. Maybe this was planned all along, but I don't think you entice people into your game by saying there's not going to be any future content. So, and I don't know how long the experience is supposed to be. I'm still only an hour or two into the game, but the fact that they've kind of said there's nothing more coming to this game. I saw some articles saying that the studio behind it is still planning on making more games, but no future content is coming to Star Wars Squadron. So let me know what you think of that down below. I would have probably liked to. I mean, I haven't played it all, but I would have probably liked to see some first player, some single player content, as well as maybe even some multiplayer additions with maps or some such. So I'm surprised that EA potentially is leaving money, but maybe they're not. Maybe they after the middling sales, they were going to make the decision, and now they've made the decision. So no future content for Star Wars Squadrons. Xbox exclusive spooky scary game The Medium has a launch date. I'll have a link to the trailer down below. The game is launching on December. It definitely feels like it's going to have the ambiance of like a really scary horror game. So I'm looking forward to seeing just what that's all about. December is going to be somewhat of a unique time with every other games that are coming out in November. I don't know if this will get kind of washed up, but also Game Pass. So if this comes out day and date on Game Pass, I'll pick it up eventually via that. So, but I'm looking forward to seeing more, maybe a little bit more gameplay of the transition from one world to the other. That's kind of what they hit it on in the last Xbox Games Showcase. So looking forward to seeing more about that. The company behind Outriders has said that there's going to be a delay. People Can Fly was originally planned for later this year in December, and has now been pushed back to early 2020. So the next cooperative shooter that me and my friends have kind of been keeping our eyes on won't be this year. So it's probably not going to be a console seller. So let's look forward to see more about what cooperative games people are playing nowadays. So let me know, what are you playing? What cooperative games are you playing with your friends right now besides, I don't know, Modern Warfare or something like that? Let me know down below. Last but not least, speaking of cooperative shooters, Destiny 2 had a cool 2-minute trailer that I'll have down below, showing off the exotics coming to the game with their next expansion, Beyond Light. One of the cool items that I saw was an awesome kind of chain sword that allows you to cut through shields. They also had like a personal pet. Looks like very similar to what Warlocks could do with the familiar. They had the chain lightning headshot sniper rifle, where if like you get a headshot, it'll like chain out and do damage to other people around them. There was also cool armor abilities like turning the Titan shield, like bubble or shield, into like a personal bubble or like a personal shield. So that looked really cool. But Destiny 2 has been releasing a lot of content, and this kind of showcase of all of the exotics that are coming to the next expansion looked really cool. So let me know which one popped out to you. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy this content. If you do, follow, like, and subscribe to me on YouTube and Twitch. Links down below in the description so you can see more great content like this. Hope you have thanks again. I hope you have a super day. I hope you have a super weekend. And I hope you have a super day. I'll be off next week, so no news report next week because I'll be getting married. Cool. Have a good weekend. Bye!